Om Bhurбhuvah Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayantam. So, hi everyone. Today we're going to speak about Sri Aurobindo, and as usually, we're going to discuss, not that I'm going to teach you, just discuss very uneasy question about death of Sri Aurobindo. Of course, almost we prefer to discuss, to speak, to enjoy all the stories about the life of different gurus, saints, and spiritual masters. But what about death? That's also part of life process. So it means we have to analyze and think about this very mysterious question, this mysterious moment as well. Okay, Sri Aurobindo passed away in the very beginning of December 1950. And that was a huge shock for most of his disciples. Why? Because his yoga tradition, and the name of this yoga tradition is actually integral yoga, dedicated to the highest level of God realization, highest level of enlightenment, which includes actually physical immortality. Well, can you imagine shock for the disciples when they understood that the master gone, but he spoke about possibility to achieve physical immortality. Oh my God, that's really very uneasy situation. But let us, think about and contemplate, actually, better to say, this situation. In the very beginning, 1950, actually, Sri Aurobindo became slightly ill, slightly unwell. In the beginning, that was not a serious problem with the prostate gland and the kidney. That itself is a very symbolical, because, prostate gland for men and for women, it's uterus. So actually, this is the end. Kidney, of course, that's really the most important source of life force, life energy. Of course, not everyone will agree with me, but okay, if you are not agree with me that these are the places which are the source of life force, okay, at least I'm sure you will agree if I'll say that one of the most powerful sources. That's, I hope you can agree with. And to experience any kind of illness regarding prostate gland and kidney, that's very symbolical and significant. And before that, few years before, Sri Aurobindo already experienced certain problems with the health, and at that time he could more or less easily heal himself. And in 1950, when disciples came to know that he became ill, they actually demanded, Master, you must heal yourself once again. But Sri Aurobindo told, he was absolutely clear that no, I'm going to go. That was his answer. Of course, not all disciples knew about the seriousness of his health conditions, but some small group of very close disciples, I believe maybe 10 or 15 of them, knew about that situation was really difficult. And then was September, October, November, and in the beginning of December, he actually passed away. Well, a few months before this, and a few years also before this, before his departure from this wonderful world, Sri Aurobindo told to the mother, his main chief disciple, that actually the mother, whose name was Mira Fasa, she was born actually in Egypt, and as you remember, she came to India, met Sri Aurobindo, and well, in the beginning she was a kind of chief disciple, but in the course of time she became like second half of Sri Aurobindo, and we can even say that it was Sri Aurobindo and the mother, two masters, who actually gave us this integral yoga. And anyway, of course, many followers, disciples, devotees of Sri Aurobindo and the mother, they absolutely strict about the approach to the mother. I mean, that both of them were equal. For me, honestly speaking, Sri Aurobindo was actually guru, and the mother at least slightly disciple. That's my approach. I can be wrong, and you can be agree or not with me. So that's the reason why sometimes I call the mother chief disciple. Maybe it's improper for most of the Sri Aurobindo devotees, but that's at least my approach. And Sri Aurobindo, a few months before his departure and a few years before this beginning of December 1950, he actually told to the mother that, like, one of us must go and one of us must stay. So that was his very strange message. In the Kriya Yoga tradition, we have a very important term, which is Shiva Swarupa Samadhi. This is the highest God realization, highest enlightenment, which include transformation of the physical body into immortal one. And we have plenty of examples that this highest level of self-realization, enlightenment, God realization is really possible, and that is not somebody's fantasy or just mythology. We have Mahavatar Babaji, the greatest immortal guru from Himalayas, and we have a bunch of other Mahatma gurus like Buddhist masters, for example, Guru Rinpoche, so-called Padmasambhava. We have South Indian great immortal master whose name is Agastya Muni, and we have Goraknath, North Indian immortal. So we have names, details, etc. So it means this highest level of self-realization is actually possible. But what was the point of Sri Aurobindo? Was amazing actually. He told that for him, for Sri Aurobindo, I mean, there is no any goal to achieve this, let us say, highest God realization, which includes physical immortality. But for him, the goal is to transform humankind into that new level, which, we can call like new man, new human being, the divine man, and that's very interesting. So many Hindu, Buddhist, Christian mystics, spiritual teachers, they speak about, some kind of personal self-realization, then full stop. But Sri Aurobindo, he actually spoke about evolution, not only on the personal level, but on the global level as well. And that's the point. That's the point. It means, according to the Sri Aurobindo philosophy, present conditions of the human culture, human beings, better to say actually not culture, but human beings, is not the final step of evolution. Really wonderful. So it means it's kind of intermediate level, and we have to go further in our process of evolution and to achieve actually this level of not just human beings, but the divine human beings. And what does it mean, the divine human beings? It means, of course, that's kind of picture which is very unrealistic for most of the people, but I mean it's fantasy which I believe one day come true. I mean human culture, human civilization where everyone is enlightened, so-called golden age actually, and not just enlightened in some inner sense on certain level, but enlightened on the top highest level, which is in Kriya Yoga tradition we call Shiva Svarupa Samadhi. Sri Aurobindo never mentioned this term, and it's not a problem, but he actually spoke about this level without mentioning this term, Shiva Svarupa Samadhi, which is highest God realization, which includes physical immortality. So in his mind, in his consciousness, was born wonderful fantasy. Let me repeat, I believe that one day this fantasy comes true, that everyone on this planet will achieve this level of God consciousness plus physical immortality. That was the point. So it means his integral yoga was not about transformation of one guy, let us say Sri Aurobindo, or maybe 20 guys, including his bunch of his disciples. But the point was to start certain work, certain spiritual process, which will lead humanity, humankind, to the level of God-man. Many aspects of Sri Aurobindo teaching is really far beyond our possibility to understand, and maybe it's better not to torture our poor mind even, but let us just open our heart and consider this possibility. Okay, Sri Aurobindo, on certain points of his work, I believe it was 30s and 40s, actually he told that there is a chance, there is a real chance, real possibility to achieve this highest God realization for himself, of course for the mother, and of course for the group of, let us say, 15 or 20 disciples. Huge. Not only for himself, but just imagine 20 plus people, physically immortal, okay. But his job was to transform humanity. And somehow he understood, and there is no any logical explanation for that, somehow he understood that he must to go, to pass away consciously, and the mother, Miriam Fossa, his second half, let us say, spiritual, co-worker, anyway, chief disciple, must stay on the physical plane to continue this spiritual work. Actually, the mother passed away in the beginning of 70s, so it means she spent something like 22, 23 years on this planet, more than, longer, after Sri Aurobindo passed away. And that's mystery, because he told Sri Aurobindo, that he going to pass away consciously, and that's very important. He died not because of poor health conditions. That's totally wrong. That's misunderstanding. He was able, with his power of thought and intention, energy, to heal himself easily, but he chose not to do this, and he just used the certain illness as the tool to say goodbye to this world, but to continue his spiritual work on subtle plan. That was very important, that Sri Aurobindo's departure was just to continue actually his spiritual work on the subtle plan, and the mother for 20 plus years was staying on this planet Earth in the ashram, and something really happened. Of course, some people, ready to critically say that actually nothing happened. But for me, obviously, that some huge process of global transformation really started by Sri Aurobindo and the mother. And nobody going to say that this global transformation must happen, today or tomorrow or next week. And Sri Aurobindo, as far as I know, never mentioned that this global transformation, this global enlightenment going to happen tomorrow. As far as I know, he never mentioned like this. But the process is on the way. And you can experience this huge, the divine grace, especially in the Pondicherry ashram, South India. Pondicherry, South Indian, beautiful town, and the ashram and the place, and especially in this area, you can experience this grace, bliss. And then his works, his books, with the greatest philosophy, amazing philosophy. And that's the beginning of real global transformation. And we are, anyway, part of this process. God bless you. See you next time.
Om Bhurбhuvah Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayantam